certain. My success is certain. And how could it not be? We're created from that which has never known failure of any kind, never known a mistake. And since we were created from it and by it, through it, we have a part of it within us. There's a part of us that is divinely successful within our souls. And it's a part of us that can never be diminished. We can never destroy it. We can turn it down to a very low flame, but we can't totally extinguish it. And if we will allow our souls and our hopes and our inspiration, we can raise it to a very high level. And that's what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to get out of our own way. We're wanting to release our fears and doubt and start acting and speaking and thinking like the beloved children of the Creator of the universe. Because that's exactly what we are. We're the beloved children of the Creator of the universe. And so we need to start thinking like it. We need to start acting like it and believing it. Dr. Holmes, the founder of our wonderful teaching, he says we're all on this journey of self-discovery. And he says one day we will all have arrived at our oneness with Spirit. He said, no, not one of us will be missing. Not any of us will be missing on that wondrous day. We will all get there in our own time. He said to think that any of us are lost to Spirit is unfathomable. It's unthinkable that any of us could ever be lost to that which has created us and loves us and supports us and encourages us. So none of us are lost, and we will all make our way back to this oneness. We are divinely created, so with even all our mistakes and flaws, there's that which in us is perfect, which wants to be expressed. And it wants to be expressed here and now, in this moment, as we are. Not when we lose the weight, not when we get to promotion, not when we get into the relationship or get out of the relationship. Here now, in this moment, it wants to be expressed. And in fact, loving and accepting ourselves as we are will make all those wonderful things easier. And guess what, gang? You can get to a place where you're happy exactly as you are, and you're happy even if those things come your way or they don't come your way. You can know you're happy. You can look at something and says that would be really nice to experience in my life, but right where I am is good, or there's some part of right where I am that is good. And the truth of the matter is if you don't love and accept yourself where you are, you will never lose enough weight to love yourself. There will always be 10 more pounds to lose. There'll always be another diet. There's always going to be somebody coming out with another program. If you don't love yourself, you'll never get so high on the corporate ladder that you will. There'll always be a bigger office. Someone will get paid more. There'll be a corporate jet that's newer and faster. You're always chasing after that next thing. And even if you don't love yourself, you'll never find someone to love you. Now, you may find someone who will try. You may find someone who will dearly love you, but you won't be able to accept it. You won't be able to allow it in. And you know what you will do is you'll run them off because you can't tolerate the nagging feeling that you don't deserve it and that they're going to soon find out the truth about you and leave you. So you'll either leave them first to show them, or you'll make it so miserable that they'll leave. Now, I know none of us in here has done something that silly, but it's what can happen if you don't love yourself. So love and accept yourself. You're doing a really great job. You're doing the best you can. And when you know better, you'll do better. You can't criticize yourself to success. You have to inspire yourself to greatness. Don't worry if you make mistakes. We're human. We all make mistakes. And that's just part of the journey. When you make a mistake, realize and accept it. Okay, I didn't do the best here I could have, but I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to do better next time. When you're in that criticizing mode and you make a mistake, what do? You identify with it. You say, that's me again. I'm always doing that. I always a day late, dollar short, never can get it right. And when you identify it, it sticks to your very soul. And you become that thing. And then it just becomes another justification on your road to failure. You are a divine part of the circulation of life. Without you, life is not going to unfold the way it should. And you're needed and necessary. And you will never know what a huge impact you're having with people around you. And even small actions, even small kindnesses can have a huge impact. This past week, I've been thinking about a dear friend of mine who I only knew very shortly in my life, but my last year in high school. Her name was Claire Moxley. And she was such a person. She had a huge impact on my life. And I think the reason that I've been thinking about her is because we had, if you were here last Sunday, we had young Elizabeth Fox coming to speak with us. And Elizabeth is this brilliant young woman and very beautiful and very tall. And Claire was also like that. She was brilliant and she was quite tall. Now, in that time when I was growing up in the 70s, tall girls were not encouraged to stand out. They Claire wore very dowdy clothes, and she certainly would have never worn heels. She wore flats to just try to not emphasize her height. But she was a brilliant young woman. And she was also a wonderful Christian in the true sense of that term. She really, she sought to embody the Christ consciousness, as we would describe it. And really, it just came down to nothing but just kindness. She was a very kind soul. And she, in the 12th grade, basically adopted me when I was at the height of my angry atheist period. Let me back up. My loudmouth angry atheist period. And I was sort of a ranting, raving, angry atheist. And Claire adopted me. And she really showed me lots of kindness and lots of love. And she was the first person in my life who showed that she could love me in spite of myself. And I had never known that. I had never known that because up until that time, any love I had ever received was always very conditional. But she was determined to show me that she could love me in spite of my rantings and ravings. So we stayed friends through college. She went to Georgia Tech, and she had a brilliant career. She graduated from there, and she went on to become a chemical engineer. And in 1981, she was earning $45,000 a year, which just was a huge sum of money for a kid right out of college. She had gone off, I don't know really where she had landed, but she was working this job. And within really just the very first months of the job, she came home and she had a heart attack and she died. When I found out about that news, I was living in a little efficiency apartment, which was really quite delightful, but it was in the Skid Row section of Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, that's really what it was. It was on Ponce de Leon Avenue. Now, it's been 40 years, but you can now buy $1 million condo on Ponce de Leon Avenue. But at that time, it was Skid Row. So I had gone to my little efficiency. I got a call from my mom that Claire had died. And the news so hit me so hard. I mean, it was really like a sucker punch to my system, that even though it was really the coldest part of January after all the Christmas decorations were packed up, that it hit me so hard that I just hung up the phone and I walked out of the apartment. I just could not stay in that situation anymore. I had to walk out. And so I had left without a coat, without gloves or anything, in this cold, bitter January night. And I didn't have any idea of where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there. And so I'm walking in this cold night, and I'm walking for a long time. I was in neighborhoods I didn't even recognize, and I was about to step off of a curb when suddenly it wasn't a voice that came to me, it was an idea that came to me. And it was an idea that was so extremely alien from any that I had ever even considered that it stopped me in my tracks. And it was a Bible verse. Now you have to remember, I was still in my angry atheist period of my life, and so I had no friendliness to Bible verses at all, and I would have never thought about going to the Bible for any comfort or wisdom. But this Bible verse came to me, and it was, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord." And it stopped me in my tracks, and at that moment I attributed it to Claire. I was convinced that somehow Claire had brought me this idea. And that idea of bringing a joyful noise unto the Lord didn't save me. I didn't see a light. I didn't, give up my evil ways. I was having too much fun with my evil ways at that time. But it slowly began to percolate in my consciousness. And I like to think today that I do, in fact, really help to bring a joyful noise unto the Lord. With all of you, with this community, with our center, doing the work we do with the teens and the nursing home at Christmas, we're bringing a joyful noise. And I like to think that Claire played a large part in bringing me on that journey. So never discount the great good that you can do and how much longer it will live after you and how much of an impact it can make after you. When we align ourselves with our divinity and start moving on it, miraculous things can happen, amazing things can happen. Now I know we're all wanting, the Red Sea to part. We're wanting the angel to appear. We're wanting the bright light to show up for us. But miracles can be just nothing more than hearing or seeing something that reaffirms our faith in humanity. And right now we need a lot of affirmation of faith in humanity. This past week, I go on my morning walks, and one of our little doggy friends, because I take Sadie, my Pickapoo, out, and so she has little doggy friends that she visits with, and one of them is a little weenie dog, and the weenie dog is walked by a little lady in a walker, and so they take a little step, and the weenie dog walks, and they take another step, and so this little lady with a walker goes all around the block with her weenie dog. So I have been noticing that the lady in the walker and the weenie dog have been absent. And then I realized that there was another lady walking the weenie dog. And so I go up to her and I ask her, I said, well, what's happened? Well, I've noticed that the lady with the walker is no longer here, so what's going on? And she said, she's my neighbor. And she says she's gotten where she's falling a good bit, so she doesn't trust herself anymore to be out with the walker. Her kids are wanting her to give up the little dog. But she tells me, I don't think I can go on without having his love in my life. So I've told her, as long as I can, I'm going to walk this little dog for you. I'm going to make sure you get to keep your little dog. Well, that is God's love bursting through the physical. That is as much a miracle as dividing the Red Sea. Because dear beloveds, dividing the Red Sea, that was needed and necessary at that time. But right now we need more love in the world. Right now we need to take care of one another more. And that as much as a miracle as an angel appearing, as a water dividing. That's much as a miracle and as powerful and can save our lives as any of that. And you know what, friends? We can bring that about. When we open our hearts, when we open our souls, when we start looking out for one another, when we start seeing how much of an agent of spirit can I be in life. And once we start experiencing that, we will know the goodness of our heart. And that alone is going to give us a sense of purpose, of meaning and a connection and success. Success. When we realize that we're capable of allowing the goodness of God to flow through us. You see, when we look to the world for success, it can be fickle. Real success comes with our connection with one another. By knowing there's a divine power in the universe that loves and supports and encourages us, and it's making a way for us. Once we've experienced that, everything else is just icing on the cake. Without knowing that, then we're forever chasing the approval of the world. And the world is not going to give us approval for very long. They say Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the donkey and the crowd shouted, Hosanna. A couple of days later, the same crowd was shouting, give us Barabbas. Just a couple of days. The world is fickle. Fame and wealth will only go so far. And they don't solve all of our problems. In fact, they accentuate our problems. And then they come with their own problems that we can't even imagine. This week it's been tough because we've been seeing some really extraordinary, talented people choosing to no longer be here, choosing to end their own lives rather than to stay here on our earthly plane. Kate Spade, the fashion designer, committed suicide. The sister of the Queen of the Netherlands committed suicide. And the one that touched my heart mostly was Anthony Bourdain. I hadn't followed his career very much, but I knew who he was. And how I really started following his career was when he started doing documentaries on CNN. And I was really impressed with the documentaries. I saw the one that he did on Appalachia a couple of weeks ago. And I was so impressed about how he had opened up his soul and his willingness to interact with people that he might not agree with, but to try to relate to them just on a human level. And I thought he had done a really an amazing job. Now, we don't ever know what's going on in a person's life. And it's easy to question, well, was this person really what we thought they were, or were they, or they were just trying to pull a masquerade? And it's easy to say to take on their grief and to feel bad and to question their lives. And I don't think this is something that we should engage in. I think what we can do is we can look at this person's life and say, well, they must have been under a lot of pain for a long, long time. And even with all that pain for a lifetime, they were still able to produce something that was good and healing and benefited many people around them. And if in a moment of weakness they forgot how wonderful they were, let us not forget it for them. Let us keep reminding of ourselves and let us, use the better part of their lives to support ours and say, well, okay, if they were able to struggle against that pain, I'm going to even do a better job. I'm going to even step more into my strength. I'm going to even bring a brighter light. So this morning, I don't think we have the luxury not to be aware of what's going on around us. I think we have to look a thing in the face and to see what it is. We're living through some turbulent times, and it's taking a toll on even the best of us. But we can gather our strength and we can look at this confusion and nonsense in the face, and we can say that in spite of all of that, I'm choosing to see myself as successful. The best part of me, the loving part of me, the compassionate and the kind part of me. I'm choosing to see the good in those around me. And I know where I've been, but I know the night is dark, but I see the breaking dawn. And I'm going to keep moving on. In fact, it would be a sin to stay where I'm at. It'd be a sin not to move on to our success, to our humanness and our compassion and our Christhood, to know something better, to believe in something better, and to walk into something better. So this morning, we're choosing to be successful because we are needed as successful successful humans, compassionate, loving, and kind. This is how God sees us. This is how Spirit created us. And this is what our soul is calling us to do. And for all of us, I know we are up to it. We're needed, we're necessary to bring a light of love, of joy, of compassion, and kindness in the world. Now more than ever, you were called by name from stardust to be here in this moment. And my friends, you are well up to the task because you're loved, you're supported, and you're encouraged by the Creator of the universe. So you start stepping out into the world, knowing who your father is, knowing who your mother is, and you start walking tall in the love of Spirit because God won't have it any other way. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.